Controlled Chaos with your hosts, Liz and Allie.
I'm Liz, the writer.
And I'm Allie, the publicist.
We are your quintessential 40-something besties who dive headfirst into all things pop culture.
Think motherhood, relationships, hot stories taking over your newsfeed, and of course, the latest gripping true crime mysteries.
This is Controlled Chaos, your much-needed weekly pop culture juice.
Drink up! All right, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 3 of Controlled Chaos. I'm Allie and
Liz.
We're really excited to talk about today's topic because it is a topic that nobody seems to care about or ever want to talk about in the press. In fact, who is Britney Spears? Have you even ever heard of her?
I know. It's like everyone talks about her and it may seem overblown, but at the same time it's not, because it's so fun. Britney has just been part of our lives. I mean, she's our age, I think, exactly. So I think we've just like kind of grown up with her. I'm attached.
Not only have we grown up with her, but I mean, I remember being in high school and every single boy in my school was obsessed with her, and what a sex object, and her music.
She's an icon. She's an icon. Yeah. She was the OG of this like type of performer. I'm totally team Brit. I ripped through her book, which is what we're here to talk about today. And just like the stuff around that, you know, there's been a lot of rumors about what she's going to do now. I don't know how many of you guys out there have read her book, whether you like her or you don't like her. It's a really easy read. It reads like a journal. I actually did the audiobook that Michelle Williams read, and I thought it was just phenomenal. I couldn't get enough.
Which, by the way, how awesome is that? I saw somewhere that who's her bestie from Dawson's Creek?
Phillips.
Yes, Busy Phillips was saying somewhere that when Michelle got the opportunity that she was like, should I do this? And Busy was like, hello, yes, like this is Britney. Like we're all the same age as Michelle with Dawson's Creek era.
No, so we're all like
privileged.
We're all in it with her. You know what's funny? I didn't think it, like, side note, it didn't sound like her at first. I'm like, this
I know. When I saw some of the clips online, I'm like, that's Michelle. I thought it was a joke, honestly.
It sounded like her at first, but she did it really well. The book was really well done. And
weren't there some funny phrases that she had to say that didn't sound right?
Yes. I mean, it definitely, like, people are like, oh, she got a ghostwriter. I'm like, it sounded like her. I mean, like, it's not no, like,
I mean when Michelle was saying like phrases, like I think there was one line where she said like, yo, so she was talking about,
she sounded completely like, oh, Michelle,
like trying to be ghetto or something. And it was,
but my point is like, did she have editors? Did she have people help her with the book? Yes, but this truly sounded like Britney talking. So I don't think there was as much of that as we thought. And I mean, look, I've always been on Team Brit. We have stuff going on? Yeah, I mean, but I'm just of the notion that like it'd be impossible not to lose your mind if you've been through what she's been through. And the book really, like, some parts were hard to listen to, just how much she lived.
Hold that thought, because I want to hear all about that. Let's just quickly breeze over why we wanted to talk about her. And one of the things that I think has struck us recently is obviously she's been like a couple years out of the conservatorship now, obviously has gone through a divorce as well already. It's from Sam Asghari. I think that's how you say his name. And a lot of things have happened in her life, right? But she's still very private in a sense. So you don't see her that often other than what she posts on social. And something I found very interesting was that not today, but the day that she removed her Instagram, which was last week, and we're recording this, today's January 16th. Yeah. So she just removed her Instagram, which she's done before, but it's gone. It's not available. And a lot of people, news media especially, were picking up a lot of stories based on what she was posting on her social media. But that led me to realize that there was a book that was just written called Toxic: Women, Fame, and the Tabloid 2000s. And it's by someone named Sarah Ditum. And it just came out. And it's all about this era of pop culture icons like Paris Hilton. But it's really case studied on Britney Spears, because when she first was popular, social media didn't exist. So she was in this phase of like, you know, the power has now shifted back to the celebrity, in the sense they can own their own voice, right? They can post videos on social. They can correct all the wrongs out there and say, this is what's actually happening. I mean, we can go on as personal as we want with them if that's what they want from us. But when it comes to Britney, she didn't have any of that. She was probably having her PR people negotiate with all the different media and magazines that were covering her, whether or not they were going to put that shaved head article out or whatever, meltdown.
Nothing was decided by her. Nothing up until
maybe she could pay someone off here and there to get something lessened.
Like the book really goes into that. Like absolutely zero did she control. And it's like being in this scary jail. Even her interviews, there's a part in the book where it said that she had an interview and she's being told what to say before. She can't even speak out of like what her script is from her managers. It was truly alarming what she was in. And then having her kids taken away. Like someone wrote a meme or a comment to that being like, that's all she did, shave her head and beat down a window. They took her kids away. They kept putting her in a hospital and drugging her up. Like, it's amazing she didn't burn the place down. Like, can you imagine being treated like that and then having your newborn babies taken away?
It's almost like a rite of passage with celebrities to go to rehabs and these things. How I can barely get through life.
Like, they were like
How
putting her on like, Vicodin and like all these things and drugging her up and just shoving her away for months on end against her will. It was very, very sad. And I think that, like, all things considered, she's really kind of in a scary way kept it together more than like, I don't know. I know she's crazy with her knife dances, but like, I just think
the
there,
knife dance was for Shakira, like an ode to
yeah, it ended up
Shakira.
being nothing. I just mean that like,
Yeah, but
this
people
made
make
me
everything out of
realize
nothing.
this made me realize that she's really not crazy as much as she was sort of tortured.
And
And
she didn't
you
really grow up, right? She's sort of stuck in, and she's talked about that before. And I don't know if the book goes over that on. I guess we can kind of transition more into the book now
the
about being
book,
stuck in this childish, sort of immature
yeah,
way
she
with these
started
kids. Yeah,
auditions, Mickey Mouse Club, very young.
right.
It started off, I mean, so she was and she wanted to be a performer. She wanted that life, but then she talked about getting burned out on it early, but then she had a lot of family. They go into her like the darkness of her family too, a lot in this book, like her dad, her dad's dad, like they were all
Can
like
you
these.
go a little bit more into that? Because I don't even know much about that. And I
Yeah,
think
the
that's
dad's dad was like a
interesting.
raging alcoholic, like, terrible to his wife. And then like her dad too, like the men in her family were kind of evil and controlling. It's like talks about like just how that was inherited through generations, and the mom,
To
I
deal with
mean,
her mom, yeah.
the mom, I think is almost in a weird way worse because you kind of like believed her always being like, oh, I'm here for Britney, but she tried to like, sell that book on her daughter's misery. I just can't imagine trying to profit on my daughter's problems the way
Yeah.
that she
I
did.
can't imagine that either as
And
a
Jamie
mom.
Lynn too. Jamie Lynn too. They all just kind of like try to like she was a circus performer for every single one of them in chains. Perform, we keep your money. And we'll write a book about how, you're losing your mind and get that money. She was their meal ticket and I feel like she was completely used by them.
But how do you think it got to that point? Because she seemed, I mean, I know she's known as being more soft spoken and introverted than people realize, but she seemed like a very confident,
Yeah.
smart woman and young woman. And to be surrounded by so many people in the industry too that could have helped her. How do you think she got to that place where her family was treating her like this? And she had, I mean, I get that the conservatorship ended up tying her hands, but before that, I mean,
Because I just think when you grow up in that limelight and your whole life is your parents guiding you, don't you trust that? Don't you trust that they have your best interest at heart? Like, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't like, you wouldn't suspect that they were trying. I mean, not that they were trying to like, I really do think they maybe put the conservatorship in first because they thought she needed it. I don't know for sure if it was like so ill-willed. It just became so much like there's a line in the book where the dad says, I am Britney Spears now. That she says that he said that. And that is like the creepy.
stop.
Yes, it's the creepiest line in the whole book. We're like, they sign it. He's like, I'm Britney Spears now. And I could like see that from what I've read about him and seen about him. Like he wanted that control. So that's my point. Maybe it started out to help her, but then it wasn't helping her at all. They knew that and they kept it going for years and years and years. Because they made her do that Vegas show. That was really sad too, because Britney's actually like creative. She is a good, amazing performer. She's a great dancer.
Photographer.
She would
Yeah.
do the same show over and over. She would always ask to do new songs, they wouldn't let her change anything. Imagine doing like, I mean, it's literally like a circus. Imagine just going out and doing the same act over and over and over again when you're a creative person.
I also feel like idiotic in the sense of I remember going to see her perform live. I guess it was when before her last tour ended, where she was touring the actual country and world. And I remember watching her on stage and I was so excited. And I remember telling my husband, Mitch, that I felt her performance was so robotic and lacked life and
Well,
luster. And I thought it was strange because none of the conservatorship information had been out yet. Nobody even knew about it. I mean, we knew what was going on to the sense of that she had problems and she needed help, but we didn't know the toxicity side of it and the lying and all that stuff.
Talks
But
about that a lot in the book. A lot.
yeah, and we walked away from that, and I was like, something just seems off. I don't know if she's just like exhausted from this and wants to get out of her whatever, partnership she had for her tour, but like obviously I didn't know what was really
It's
going on.
just
But
the same
man,
thing, and she talked about how just, like, that's what she was, just a robotic performer. She said she used to beg to change the routines, change the dance routines, anything, and they wouldn't let her change so much as, like, a flip of that show, and I think after a while, she was just like she said she'd stopped even trying to, like, and who wouldn't, you know? She was like, "I was
yeah.
just through the steps. I wasn't even really," and, like, I don't know,
Do you
it's
think
just sad.
she has any real friends?
I don't know. It's a really good question. No. Yeah, she talks a lot about Paris in the book. She really likes Paris Hilton. They were
I know
apparently
I've seen that. There's a few celebrities I know that have like I guess reached out to her during times and like made her feel like they cared.
I'm not sure if
Madonna.
she has real friends. I'm not sure she could have real friends for a long time. That concern they kind of kept her on lockdown.
And I also wonder too, remember there was that woman that used to be like her assistant for many years who's been in a couple of the documentaries. She was a really lovely, like Southern woman. She got fired, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, something went south with them too.
But you would
Like
hope maybe someone like that would like reappear in her life and maybe just be there for her. I don't know. It's like, who does she
I
have
don't
in
think
her
she's
life?
had.
Who does
I
she
don't
have
think.
in her life?
I mean, kind of no one, which is
Because
why,
her
like,
husband's
come on.
gone now. And by the way, what's the deal with that whole relationship? What do you think happened there?
I don't know. He's not really talked about in the book because they got divorced right when the book came out.
Right.
He's not really at all, like, barely
But was
mentioned.
that just like a freak, weird, like she
I
was in
don't
this?
know. I don't
I
know
was like,
anything
what was
about
that?
that. I don't even know anything about him really. It was like they're married a year. I mean, it was very short-lived. Kevin Federline sounds like a total asshole. I don't
Speaking of
like
him, why do her kids hate her? Like they seem
I think that he said, like, apparently when she tried to go visit him, he would shut her out from seeing him. I don't know. Like, I don't know how much of this was genuine concern that he thought she was really off her hinges. Because look, there has been plenty of times where she didn't come across great.
but she never came across like she was trying to hurt anybody or that she
Oh,
was
especially her
vicious.
kids. I don't know. K-Fed seemed like from the beginning just someone trying to get her
Trash.
money. Yeah,
Trash.
trash and trying to get her money and trying to get her
Yeah.
fame. She talks about in the book about how he was addicted to the fame and like she brought him that fame.
Oh my gosh. Remember that show that they had
Yes.
um I remember My Prerogative was like
Yeah,
the theme
about
song
their
and that
first year of marriage.
wasn't that weird that show? It was
He
like
wanted that. He wanted that.
you could
He
tell. And
wanted the fame.
she seemed losing her marbles. And there's listen, she definitely has lost her marbles a little. Like there's no doubt about that.
How could you not though?
How could you not?
That's what I took away from the book. No one could go through that and come out sane. Nobody. Nobody. There's no chance. And I don't know. I just felt so sad for her after reading this book. I'm like, I want like a big Britney like redemption.
Right.
I want her to like
So speaking of redemption, and by the way, I didn't read the book mostly because I felt like I couldn't. I was just like,
oh, you should. So good.
I think because I saw the highlights in the press that I almost was just like, and I know that you get way more from reading it, but I
You
don't
need
know.
to read it. You need to
I'm
just
so
get an
traumatized
audiobook.
by what she went through.
And every time you go on a walk, just listen to it and you'll
Yeah.
finish it in like 2 hours. It's so good. But
Well,
yeah, well,
yeah.
there's been rumors that she is dropping a new single. I've heard it from people who
Told
are
me this,
friends with
right.
these people who are other singers. She is vehemently denying this. And she also just dropped her Instagram account, like we talked about, out of nowhere. So I don't know
Not
what's
just
going
denying
on.
it, saying she has like no interest, that the rumors are not even true, but that she also has no interest and she just wants to be behind the scenes and she's been writing
And
music.
I could see that. And she mentions that in the book too, how she's like her heart for performing just isn't there anymore after reading.
How could it be? She was poisoned on that stage. Do you remember that? It just made me think of, remember that one performance she did? I think it was at like an MTV Movie Awards from maybe,
The snake one, that's her famous
well,
one.
that's the famous one, but I'm talking about the one
Oh, she talks a lot about that.
where
That
she
was
looked like
so
she was on
bad.
something.
Well, she talks about that. So it was her first performance postpartum. Okay. So
Yes.
she was like a little insecure about like she hadn't lost all the weight yet. Had seen Justin Timberlake right before she went out. Okay. Justin Timberlake was like at the top of his career. We're talking right after like his solo album, Justified, which he pretty much got famous on because of dissing Britney. Don't even get me started on him. I'm like very anti
I know.
Justin.
I'm having some issues with him
No,
too.
I don't. I'm like very, no, I don't know.
We can spend a couple minutes on him if we
But
want, but
like
let's
so,
go
but she
ahead.
talks about how she saw him right before she went out, hadn't seen them since they broke up. She was very in love with him. She goes into that in the book.
Sounded like it. Yeah.
She really was. So she saw him right before the performance. She said she barely got any dress rehearsals out. So she's like, I just was not ready. I knew I wasn't ready to perform. I just had the baby 2 months ago. I just saw Justin backstage. She was like a mess. She just wasn't there. And then that performance, I mean, you remember it was everywhere. Like Britney's she's lost it. She's not there.
They
She's
all
like,
thought thought that she was on drugs. Did she address that in the book at all?
Yeah, she was just like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have performed. I wasn't ready. I was not ready. I was just right after having the baby. I didn't feel in shape. We didn't practice, and I just saw Justin, who I hadn't seen since we
Yeah,
broke up.
her mind
She
wasn't. She
but
doesn't
she
mention being on anything though. She
was
wasn't
not
on
there. It
any.
all kind of made sense, and like I still remember that performance vividly because it was her first one back in a while.
Yeah, it was.
And
That was one of the because that was before she shaved her head, right?
yes, and in the book, she's like, everyone's criticizing my weight, and it's like I had still like just because I'd have all my abs back, she looked pretty good for just having a
I
baby at
thought she
15.
looked amazing. My criticism was not at all about what she looked like. It was how she was acting. She seemed very out of it.
No, she was. She said that. I don't think it was
Yeah,
on drugs. She wasn't allowed to. She did. So I will say this in the book, she did take a lot of Adderall, like a lot, and that can mess you up. Like it
taking it
can.
that much. Yeah.
Also, she did talk about how she takes a lot of Adderall. She took a lot of Adderall. She didn't really drink that much.
I mean, taking an Adderall here and there to like
No, but I
study
think
or
she was
something, but
like
like, yeah, if you're on it
crushing
every day,
Adderall. She kind of made it sound like it was
the
a drug.
Adderall culture is out of control. I'll tell you that.
And
I,
maybe she
yeah.
it can help maintain your weight too. But anyway, I'm not saying that's what
She was
happens.
in the conservatorship though during that performance, wasn't she?
I think so.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, because I know that they drugged her and think I don't know. I mean, it
It's
sounds
just it
like
was she when she talks about that in the book, you just feel for her because she's like, I ran into Justin and he's just like so on his game, and I just was
she was
like
not feeling that
so
way.
not ready to perform yet, and I knew that.
So
But
2 minutes on Justin, real fast. Let's spend 2 minutes on him.
he hasn't even really responded to this, and he like he did like that little dig to her during his Vegas
You
performance when
saw
he
that where he was like, "No, what did he say? No
no
disrespect or something."
disrespect or whatever, and like
This was for the opening
I believe
of Live,
everything.
right? In Vegas,
Yes.
listeners. That's what that was. If you watch that at the very end of his performance, he was performing Crimea River, right?
Yes, the song that he got famous on because of Britney. I believe everything she said about him. I really,
Oh,
truly
I do
do.
too. Why would she lie anyway?
Like such an insecure little sniveling shit. That's really how I feel. He just seems like I do not like him. I think he did the same thing to Janet, like during the Super Bowl thing. I think he's gotten famous by putting other people like I don't know, he got his solo album was basically about Britney, about how Britney screwed him over. And she mentioned in the book, I'm like, he had cheated on me several times already, but no one talks about that. She goes, I made one mistake and was honest with him about it. Then he makes the
Yeah,
whole album about it.
I think
I don't
the abortion was
abortion. I mean, I
obviously
just
nobody knew about that. Very traumatic
oh,
to hear how that was handled. And she's a Southern girl, right? Like she probably always wanted a family and never was raised to
he
think
didn't
of
want to have the
having an
abortion. She talks
abortion.
about
Yeah,
that.
that's
Justin wanted to. They were
regardless of
not.
regardless if Justin was like a phenomenal human being, that doing that and with the values that she was raised with, could must have been one of the most traumatic moments of her life. So attach that to somebody that you were in love with that now is rising to fame, broke out of NSYNC, is doing
I don't
Super Bowl performances. I do get a scumbag vibe from him.
nothing about him. He seems very like
Yeah.
sniveling little weasel. I don't know what it
Slithery,
is.
snaky.
He's
Yeah.
talented, not doubting that.
And I've
I
been to
love
his concerts.
I love
Yeah.
Justified. Loves that album. Who
I
didn't?
love
But
Man in
like
the Woods too. I've loved all of them.
in Senorita, I still play that. But like
Oh, I know. I'm not
I
gonna
just
lie, I also loved his new song with NSYNC that came out in the new Trolls movie. I played it on repeat for probably 2 months straight.
yeah, he's very good. I just think that Britney really got the short end in that situation.
Yeah.
And he rose to fame because of it. And I think he kind of used her like a lot of people, like everyone else did.
It's just
And he never has once even like tried to I'm not, I mean, I don't know if he did publicly apologize. I'm not sure how that would make him look either, but did he ever reach out to her privately? Like anything? I just feel like
why not share that with people? Why not have a phone call with her and tell her I'm here for you? Like, why just close her off like this? Because you know what I
no,
think this poor girl, I feel like she had everything going for her, except because she was
or
raised in such a sheltered world and she blew up to fame at such a young age, her surroundings, the people that were in her like little board, I always call it like your little advisory board, were not the people to be trusted. They were to benefit off of her. And so what happened to, in my opinion, was you have this beautiful woman who had a lot of talent, but her confidence and her maturity did not rise at the same time. And so you see this woman continue to rise, the confidence starts dropping, the maturity starts dropping. And all of a sudden you have this girl who's doing some questionable things that when you're in front of the media, like she was, and you couldn't walk out of your home, anything's going to go from a 1 to a 100 like that. And she got screwed.
if you're a famous child actress or pop star, you have to have the most like rooted parents. Like I think you not only have to be good parents, you have to be like, I don't know, like next level because it's so hard
You just
to
hit the nail on the head. You
And
look at
it
like Lindsay Lohan.
everything, Michael
Yeah.
Jackson,
Yeah.
like anything, like you have to
He's the
be so.
father. Yep.
And
Yep.
look at Taylor Swift. She is
Very,
a very
very
good
supportive
example of
parent.
someone whose parents have handled
Right.
it amazingly. So it's like it is possible, but it's
Great
very,
point.
very, very hard. It's very hard. And they were
Yeah.
like a
You look at,
small little podunk family with a dad that was already kind of
yep.
a bad seed.
You hit the nail on the head. You're right. If you look at, there's others that have done okay, like
It's
Hillary
down to
Duff. She's
parenting.
been okay. What?
All comes down to parenting, which is terrifying.
And as a parent, like I think about these things,
I
don't you?
think about it a
Like
lot
how,
now. I
yeah.
didn't think about any of that before I was a parent as much, but it really does come down to that.
And breaking the cycle, not carrying the abuse, the toxicity, even if it was, we all, live through our different forms of trauma, small trauma, big trauma, whatever. Break the cycle. Whatever it is, break the cycle. All right,
Very
let's
hard to do
let's
that.
just real fast touch upon. I have a question for you. If you were to see her dad on the street, what would you say to him or do?
Oh my gosh, her dad on the street. I mean, I don't even know if I want to look at him. I just want to walk right by, maybe trip him. Like I don't know, like or just walk right by. He's like a sad old man. I just wouldn't want anything. I'm almost like ambivalent. Like just keep walking.
I think I would look to see how to initiate legally the purge, and then I would use that would be the person I'd want to get rid of.
Yeah, I agree. He's
I
bad
want to be
news.
done with him.
Family though, it's not just him. It's the
I
mom
know,
too.
but he's sort of like, in my opinion, the leader.
Yeah, he is.
Like so many, there's always like a leader behind the one that really is like running the show. And he was certainly that one.
He's very awful.
And I really do hope that she can reconcile with her kids as they get older, because she probably is a wonderful mom and a sweetheart.
I
And just,
really hope that for her because it's so sad to me. They don't talk to
no,
her. I hope that too.
I know.
I really wish so many well
I
wishes,
know.
Whitney. I like want good things for her.
It's
She just
almost as if like, I mean, I hope she can build the tools for herself and not need anyone. But one of the biggest keys to longevity is your friends and your community. It's connection. That's one of the keys to longevity, and longevity mentally and physically, living forever for a long time, and also healthily, mentally living for a long time. And she doesn't have that, it seems. So for me, I really hope she can develop some sort of like community or network of people that she can fully rely on and trust. And like you said, look at people like Taylor Swift. I mean, she's got like probably the most ironclad, trustworthy team of people surrounding her. No wonder she hasn't had a mental breakdown. And if she ever did, I'm sure that it's being handled properly and internally. And,
think about how you feel lonely in our day-to-day lives and we're not famous.
can't
The
even
world of
imagine.
fame can make you feel so isolated. You need a support system even more. She's got nothing. She's
Didn't
by
she?
herself with dance videos in her house. I mean, it's very sad.
Heartbreaking. Didn't she talk a lot about that in the book too, about like leaving shows or being in a hotel room for months at a time and
She's
or an
just alone
apartment
all
and
the
being
time. I
alone?
mean, like it's like being in solitary
Where
confinement.
were where were her people, like dancers, whoever? Like there
They
were
kept her away from all that. She said the conservatorship for what, 14 years? They kept her away from all that.
so crazy that this happened at this day and age. And thank God it ended. I'll never forget when that was all over the news and she was in
I'm
court.
so
Hearing
glad,
her
but
voice
but the
and what
damage
she
has
was,
been done, See what happens with her next.
she can
Let's see if
repair
this
though. Break the cycle, Brittany. Break the cycle. Break the cycle. Come
Yeah,
on. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
thank
We love Brittany. We're always going to be Team Brittany.
love you, Brittany. We really do.
If you ever
I
listen to
always will.
this, we'll always support you, and whatever kind of music you make, we'll support it, and whatever you don't want to make. And if you were ever walking down the street, needed a friend, I know Fold and
Oh
I
my
are
God, I
here
would
for you in
love
a
to be
heartbeat.
friends with Brittany. I could be the best friend for her. I know it.
Team Brittany over here.
Keep it.
All right, y'all. I can say that now because I live in Nashville. All right, y'all. See you on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed listening. Make sure to subscribe and like, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.